day to you out there, and this is an interesting edition of your regular program, Business and Economy, where we improve your horizon on the workings of the nation's economic policies, and this time on the progress and prospects in protecting the rights of consumers in Nigeria under the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC. I am Nigerian. Consumers in Nigeria, like any other country, have suffered unmitigated abuses and neglect by service providers in both the public and private sector. The government, having realized this, established the Consumer Protection Commission, which is now called the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC. The role of the FCCPC, among others, is to defend consumers' interests where abuse is reported to it. Prior to the establishment of this commission, any violation of consumers' rights was usually reported to the police, but the police seems overwhelmed, hence the justification for the setting up of the FCCPC. However, the operation of the FCCPC seems not well understood and appreciated by the majority of Nigerians, as a cross-section still resolved to self-help, just like we noticed in recent time. Today, on this interesting episode of your program, Acting Executive Vice Chairman of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, Dr. Adamu Abdullahi, is joining us after the news to discuss the mandate of the Commission and what consumers like you and I should expect. We'll be back in a moment. While placing a temporal seal on the supermarket pending further investigation, the Director, Surveillance and Investigation Department of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, Barrister Mrs. Boladale Adeyinka, noted the enforcement campaign of the Commission.
The mission of the Commission is response to the video that went viral, where consumers, particularly Nigerian consumers, were allegedly being discriminated and preventing access into a supermarket located in Nigeria, here in Abuja. Enquiries have shown that yes, as at this morning, this supermarket was open and people were here. CCTV footage also shows that at about 8:29 a.m., two vehicles departed from these premises, allegedly containing the owner of the supermarket, whom we have been able to identify by name, and we have our contact details.
The FCCPC director, who insisted on some security checks, including the center's CCTV, urged the business community to be consumer conscious or face the necessary sanctions.
If she fails to attend to this summons, which is a lawful inquiry, the mandate of the commission under its powers, its investigative powers, is to seal the premises until she complies with the summons of the commission. It is unlawful to discriminate against any person who has any desire, intention to patronize any shop. It's a public shop. It's a public access facility and also business, and no Nigerian or no consumer in Nigeria should be discriminated against.
Earlier, the facility manager, who spoke on behalf of the absconded staff and management of the supermarket, pointed on its operation.
They sell mainly Chinese items, the grocery items. Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Who is this person? She has a name that you read.
She has.
Yes. Who is her? Can you identify her so that we can know who she is?
For sure. I know her name, but as we speak, she's not in the premises now. Yes. When I came to work by 8 o'clock, I met the gate locked. So I was briefed because I was not here when the incident happened. I was briefed. Then with my management, we put a call, placed a call to her severally, but he wasn't connected. So as we speak, yes, she is not in the premises.
Barrister Mrs. Adeyinka further affirmed commitment of the Commission to ensuring adequate compliance with the law for the benefits of all consumers. In a related development, in line with its mandate to protecting consumers' rights and maintaining adequate pricing system across the nation, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, has placed a seal on the headquarters of the For You supermarket while evacuating fake and substandard rice from its branch, both in Wuse to Abuja. Speaking at the surveillance and investigation exercise, Acting Executive Vice Chairman of the FCCPC, Dr. Adamu Abdullahi, expressed commitment of the President Tinubu-led administration in the fight against fake products, as well as maintaining an effective pricing system for the real value for money.
That is not acceptable. They are forming cartels, and cartel is not allowed in our law. It's not allowed in the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We have to do what we are supposed to do. We have the full support of the government of the Federation, of our Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, to make sure that food prices and indeed commodity prices come down in this country. And this is part of all that effort, to ensure that both formal and informal markets, as you asked, would comply by the rules of engagement and do what they are supposed to do, so that in the same manner that government took up the issue of the high rate of the dollar and brought it down, then the high cost of products must also come down in our supermarkets, because we have to find out at what cost these products were bought and at what cost they are now selling, and why things have not changed. Because if it is on narrow exchange rates that you have built your prices earlier, now that the exchange rate is much lower, then the prices should be lower. That's what what justice we think would entail. But it's not what's happening in this country. Rather than things coming down, they are going up. And we'll get to the root of it and find out what it is and find out who the culprits are, and they will face the wrath of the law. I give assurances.
On her part, the Director, Surveillance and Investigation Department of the Commission, Barrister Mrs. Boladale Adeyi. In case you just tuned in, you are on to your interesting program, Business and Economy, and the FCCPC boss, Dr. Adamu Abdullahi, is here with us in our studio, and we'll be discussing the main objectives of the FCCPC in protecting the Nigerian consumers, like you and I. Doctor, you are welcome to the program.
My pleasure, always, Queen. Appreciate.
The FCCPC has been with us for a while now, yet many Nigerians seem not to know their rights as consumers, and even when they know, they do not trust that when their right is abused, they can get a relief from your organization. Now, what exactly is the role of the FCCPC?
Okay, you see, we have a two-pronged role, but let me start with the consumer protection aspect. Consumers of services and goods have some rights that have to be defended. In a regulated economy such as ours, you see, our economy has been regulated for a very long time. Meanwhile, we don't have any antitrust laws. So we have allowed businesses to continue doing business as they feel like, and there is no law protecting the interests of the consumer. So when you are shortchanged, you don't have anybody to report to. Essentially, that's why the FCCPC, through our Act of 2018, came into being. Hitherto, there has been a CPC, which is a Consumer Protection Council. The additional C there, which is competition, is because of the fact that businesses have guidelines on which they must operate. There must not be any monopolistic services. They must not abuse dominance in the marketplace. They must ensure that they don't rig bids. In the same manner, cartels must not be formed, so that they don't sit down together and fix prices. So essentially, that's the first aspect of our assignment. Second aspect is this issue of protecting the interests of consumers. When you want to buy goods in any supermarket or anywhere for that matter, the prices of those goods must be displayed, and those prices must agree with what you pay at the till. And essentially, that's what has been our quarrel with most of these supermarkets in all over the country, because of the fact that when you go to a shelf and pick an item, by the time you go to the till to make the payment, the prices differ. So that's misleading. That is false. And we believe that it's only good that we do the right thing. But then we now started to find out also other issues, such as the fact that fake goods are being sold, expired goods are being sold in the supermarkets. Our law gives us the right to go ahead and evacuate all these products from the market, and that's what we do. In the informal market sector, we have found out that there are associations for all food items nowadays. So you find out that yam sellers have association, egg sellers have association. They protect you from gaining entrance in the marketplace. Meanwhile, that's why it is a marketplace. Marketplace means bring your goods, I bring mine, and based on competition, prices now come down and we get better quality. But by preventing others from coming to the market and forcing them to come into associations, you are now making things higher, and they're also coming together to fix prices. So essentially, that's what we do to ensure that the right thing is always done.
All right. It will surprise you to know that many service providers believe that nobody can hold them accountable, even where they abuse the rights of their customers. Especially the popular one is those in the public service, like electricity distribution companies across states of the federation, where light was not provided or enjoyed, and there's outrageous billing. What can the Fccpc do to remedy the situation?
You specifically asked about electricity. You see, discos are private companies. They no longer belong to government. But there is a sector regulator, which is the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC. There's also NEMSA, Nigeria Electricity Management and Safety Agency, right? So what really happens nowadays is that we have to come together and sign MOUs and work together so that we protect the interests of consumers. All this issue of estimated billing is something that Fccpc came into, and if you have ever heard of capping to bills, it is something that the Fccpc fought for and got on behalf of consumers from all discourse in Nigeria. It's our effort. And the NERC agreed with us and now directed discourse to do what they are supposed to do. That's why we now have this bills, the cap on the estimated bills. Issues now regards all sorts of complaints in the electricity sector come to both us and to NERC. Since we have an MOU, whenever we get complaints from them, from consumer that is, we pass to NERC to resolve with a timeline within which that resolution must be made. But we went a little further and have been in consultation with the DISCO themselves, the NERC and NEMSA. We go all over the country, have town hall meetings, invite people that have complaints against all these electricity companies, and try to resolve within a period of 5 days all the complaints that they have. These have been very successful, and we have been all over the country. I will see at least all the 6 geopolitical zones, and this is a continuous process, and we insist that these problems are sorted out within those 5 days at that venue. Whichever is not, we carry forward and bring to our headquarters and give deadlines within which they must be resolved. The consumers are very happy with this development, and I've seen lots of commendations going out to the Fccpc on this. And I believe that, as I said earlier, this is a continuous thing, and we'll continue doing it. We cannot solve all problems in one day, but the fact that people even now load their complaints to us, and our complaints are getting higher, it doesn't mean that we're not working. It means that people now have confidence in the fact that there is a government agency that defends and protects the interests of consumers. And that is how we keep telling people that we have the will, we have the capacity, and we have the determination, and we'll continue doing what we are doing to ensure that the interests of consumers are protected in all spheres, because we are not a sector regulator, we're an umbrella protector of the interests of Nigerian consumers.
All right. If we look at the issues that has to do with the mandate of the Fccpc, we can say that a lot of reports have been made, or complaints, just like you said, have been submitted to the Fccpc over the time, and by your organization. And What can you tell us about the progress made so far about the issues concerning the FCCPC under your mandate?
There's a public service consumer complaint portal that now watches out for complaints. Call it report.ng.gov. Okay. Only yesterday, it passed a bill of confidence on the FCPC by ranking as number 1 in resolving complaints in the month of May. Number one. We are followed only by the CBN, and of course there are the ones that lag behind, and the customs among that, FAN is among that. And we're always on the watch out for all this lagging behind, and we try to bring them up to speed. Because as I said earlier, our law is very specific that we have to enter into MOUs with all sector regulators. That we work together. By working together, we work with the competence that they have, because they have the core competence. For instance, NCC knows what the dropped call is. We don't. NCA decides what a delayed flight is, and when bags are lost, the Montreal Convention, MCC 99, dictates how compensation is paid for lost baggage in the aviation industry. That is in the purview of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. So by working together, putting our rules or our laws together, we get better service. That way, we can now solve the interest or protect the interest of consumers better. And that is what we do. Essentially, we ensure that by those MOUs that we sign, work together to resolve these complaints. And we ensure that whenever we see deficiencies in the system, we go in there and try to resolve them. Essentially, this issue of electricity that I just discussed earlier is because of that gap that was noticed. Electricity kept becoming the first in the number of complaints that we receive.
Yes.
So we now went into that, and that is why we went into the electricity complaint and tried to resolve most of them the way we are doing. And now that we have also discovered that customs has now come into it, fund is now in it, because complaints have been lodged there and they have not been resolved. That means the interests of consumers have not been protected. That means we now go into those spheres also and see how we are going to work together with these other government agencies and show them the way. Since we are the umbrella body, we show them the way, we show them what to do to resolve these complaints so that they can now be at par with us. We're only happy when consumer complaints are resolved. We're not happy by just being the first. We want everybody to be at par with us so that in the long run, the consumer is king, the consumer is the one that wins. Yes.
Okay, again, looking at the interest of the consumers and your synergy with some institutions like the Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, the NAFDAC and Servicom are expected to work in synergy with your organization, apart from those ones that you have mentioned. How effective can you say that this partnership has been over the period?
SON is a very easy one because we belong to the same ministry and they report to the same minister, so we don't have a choice. That one work together. And in fact, all the other regulatory agencies, as I mentioned earlier, our law is very specific that we have to go into MOU with them and work together with them. You have mentioned NAFDAC. We already have an MOU with NAFDAC and we work together with NAFDAC. There are even some enforcements that we go out together as a team. We form teams and work together to resolve complaints of consumers. Or when things are reported to us, we now do a joint enforcement and go to these markets and find out what's going on and try to evacuate the things from the market, the fake products if it's fake, dangerous products if they are dangerous and things like that. So we don't seem to have any issues in getting along with our core sector regulators or other government agencies because our law is very specific on what to do and we go by the law.
Major concern of Nigerians or citizens has to do with what we have mentioned now, the high prices of goods and services, which is inflation, because that has to do with everybody in the country. And in recent time, a lot of citizens applauded the Commission, the FCCPC, for their efforts to protecting the consumers by the unscheduled visits to some supermarkets, departmental stores and local markets, just like we saw in the clip in our news. I remember I was on board the enforcement tour by the FCCPC to the For You supermarket, then the Chinese mart in Airport Road, and the Masaka market as shown in that segment too. The visit was aimed at ensuring fair pricing, that is fair pricing, good quality, and stemming escalating prices, at least to bring the prices down, just like you mentioned earlier. This visit was aimed at all of those. What are your observations now, and have there been any change in attitude of these providers?
Well, we'll go further. Apart from this enforcement that you are part of, we also invite the market managements. After your visit that you joined us in the Masaka, for instance, we invited the Masaka management of the Masaka market. Luckily for us, they even came along with the chairman of the local government.
Oh, that's good.
And we sat together. He himself is a farmer. So we compared notes, discussed, and it is a learning process for all of us. Most of the associations don't even know that there is a law that stops them from fixing prices. That's why you go to a barber salon and you see a board there that says
Price tag.
there's a price that says if you want to barb your hair, Barbers Association of Nigeria has decided that barbing of head is this, facial is this, and things like that. All this is wrong because it's wrong. Because let's even take the issue of the band A, band B for electricity, for instance. That means that barbing salons have paying different prices for power. So if you go to a band B salon to barb your hair, it should be lower. It should be lower because band B pays lower than band A.
Okay.
So if electricity costs me more, then my products should cost more. And if my store, my shop, is in a highbrow area and I pay much for my shop, then of course I should charge more for haircuts. Exactly. So that's the essence of competition. So if you as a consumer of a service now, you want to barb your hair and you know what your pocket can afford, so you know where to go and barb your hair at a lower rate. And if you can afford it, you go to the place where they charge higher. So essentially, if you sit down as an association and say all the people that practice in that profession must charge the same price, then you're not being fair to them. If you block an a person that produces that has a poultry in let's take the example of Masaka or even Kefi, and you bring in your eggs into a market, Muse or Garki market to sell, and you have been told that you cannot sell your eggs in that market, that is against the law. That is protecting you from entering a marketplace, and that is not allowed in the law. And if you are forced to enter to be a member of an association and pay fees before you can now sell your eggs in Garki or Muse market, it is wrong. Or if the association now forces you to sell your eggs to them at a lower rate and then they sell at their own price, then of course they are distorting the price, they are distorting the market. All these are the things that have led to the increase that we have seen in prices, plus all the other things all the other factors that we have also discovered. Beyond just Abuja, you have noticed that over last week and even the week before, we have been to markets in Katsina,
I was coming to
in
ask
Bauchi,
send it to other states.
in Oshobo, in Oka is next. We plan to do it last week, but because of these security issues, we had to postpone. But it's coming up too very soon. We have been to markets in Port Harcourt. So essentially what we are trying to do is to get these markets, inform these associations especially that what they are doing is against the law, and call in the market managements and inform them that this association that you have under you are doing things that are against the law, and for now we're on advocacy. Next time we come, it's going to be for enforcement, and we are going to sanction, and the sanctions may be very, very adverse. So please go and warn your associations, tell them that what they are doing is wrong, and that without warning we are coming. So essentially that's what we have been doing, and we have also discovered, of course, other factors that lead to these price increases. You see the cost of transportation, for instance, of products if you buy a basket of tomatoes in Kano for 20,000, by the time it gets to Lagos, we have seen only last week MBS saying that a basket of tomatoes goes as much as 150,000 in Lagos.
Even in Abuja here, it was
In
going
Abuja,
for
yes.
130,000
Exactly.
naira a basket.
So all this can be, you can look at the cost of the transportation, the cost of the fueling. That is why government is very, very adamant about the CNG that we are talking about. By the time we start using compressed natural gas for mostly our commercial transport businesses, you see that the prices will come down by as much as 60%, because that's the difference between using diesel and using compressed natural gas. So that's why government is going in that direction, so that this cost will now come down. Issue of infrastructure is another major issue that we have discovered. So you see, the roads are not exactly in the shape that they should be. The vehicles themselves are not in very good condition, as you know. If you load a trailer with tomatoes from Kano and you are going to Lagos, God help you, you have a breakdown on the way. What happens? These are perishable items.
Yes.
And the loss goes to who? Comes to you. So all these things are taken into consideration when they fix, when they decide on what prices they are going to sell their goods. They look at the losses that they have, and of course add all these to the cost that goes to the consumer. So all these are issues that we are now compiling together, and would now go and approach government with, and look at the different sectors that are involved. Fccpc is not in transport, for instance. We are not in railways, for instance. We are not in road infrastructure. That's Minister of Works. So we have seen what government is doing. Government has been, since it came into effect, this renewed hope agenda of the government. We have seen how they have really taken up the issue of railways, for instance, to ensure that we get railway transportation for our goods. That would bring down prices of goods. The issue of CNG, as I said earlier, would bring down the prices of goods. The issue of road infrastructure, getting better roads, would bring the prices of goods down. So all these are issues that people just have to understand, that there are efforts, ongoing efforts, to make sure that these things would come down. We have studied the other markets. That's why we go on international conferences and conventions, and we see what others do. The same problem that Nigeria is facing today is what Egypt faced. This same issue of subsidies, this same issue of floating of the rate of the currency, this same issue of infrastructure, and almost everything that we faced is what they also faced. We have an MOU with the Egyptian Competition Commission, and we have worked together, we have shared intelligence, we have shared experiences, we have shared information, and we see the way that they have been doing things, and we now go ahead and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Since it has worked for them, let's see if it will work for us. And that is what we have been doing.
Hopefully, we are hoping that it will work for us.
It will work for us by the grace of
Some
God.
Nigerians have expressed concern that most of the time, if not all, that what goes up in Nigeria
never comes down. I've heard of that.
Especially when it has to do with
I've heard of that.
pricing.
But
And,
if you, yes.
from their complaint, it was noticed that maybe all the good reforms that the agencies like Fccpc and even the government with its renewed hope agenda have come up with, that's supposed to work and bring prices down, may not bring the prices down. What do you think that the Fccpc is doing different, especially when it has to do with compliance with the law? Like you said, the next time you are going is for enforcement, then compliance, and anyone that refuses to comply will face the law.
Yes.
What are you doing, or what plans are you putting on ground to ensure compliance?
Okay, what we are doing is what we are doing, as you have noticed. You see, advocacy is the in thing. That is what really brings good behavior. And more importantly, bad behavior must have consequences. In as much as there is fear of the law, or fear of consequences when you go against the law, people will fall into place and do the right thing. So that's why we are making very, very sure that whatever it is that we promise people, we walk our talk, and we make sure that we warn beforehand, so that people would really come fall into place. There's something I always look forward to at the beginning of the week. That is the NBS food pricing index. That one, I'm very positive. You see changes this week.
A
reduction in the cost of food items. If you have listened attentively to the Honourable Minister of Finance, or the only day before or yesterday, he was on TV, on the social media, on radio, telling us that price of things have really started coming down. So this is a thing that we now have to sit down and watch all the effort that we have made. What are the results? What is coming out of it? We have to break that jinx of whatever goes up doesn't come down. It will come down this time around. It will come down this time around.
It was almost becoming
because it's no longer going to be like that, and it's no longer going to be business as usual, because in as much as there are consequences of bad behavior, is that people will fall into place.
All right. Again, taking you back on the efforts you made in the Federal Capital Territory, that is the enforcement tool that I was talking about. Can you bring us to the understanding of what is the situation now, especially you have told us, you have mentioned what you have done on the massacre market and how the association visited your organization. How about the Chinese mart and the For You supermarket? Is there any positive compliance as of the moment?
Let me even start with Sahad.
Okay.
Yesterday I was in Sahad myself. We all go to shop now. And a very, very significant development is that Sahad now has devices in which you can go and check the price of goods before you even go to the counter. And what I did was pick some items. That says 1,200. Went to the went to the price. No, there's a device. You don't even have to go to a counter. You don't have to go. Every floor has like 4 of those devices.
That's great.
That you just go and scan the barcode on that product. By scanning the barcode, it gives you the name of the product and then the price. So I now compare the price of the shelf and the price that the device is giving me, and they tally. So the report that I'm getting from our teams that always go on inspections, because beyond just going on these enforcements, after we give timelines within which we want them to do some things. And we now, on a weekly basis, take it upon ourselves. We don't tell them we come on Wednesday or Thursday, or we take the time at our own discretion and go to them to visit and find out whether they are complying. The last report I got is that Sahad has 95% compliance. 95% compliance. Last mark. And For You is also on the road, because it happened much later, so they're at about 80%. The Chinese supermarket that you mentioned is an ongoing investigation, because what we have really discovered is, going through the visitors book is really an estate. It's beyond just a supermarket. So at the gate of the estate, that if you don't have any business going to that estate, they prevent you from entering the estate. If you don't enter the estate, you can enter the supermarket. So we now ask specific questions from the managers of that estate. Is it that there's directly given to you that you should discriminate against Nigerians or any other person for that matter, and only allow Chinese to enter this? They say no. There are Nigerians living in that estate. So it's not as if it's only the Chinese that live in the estate anyway. It's only that the Chamber of Commerce, Chinese Chamber of Commerce, is also based in that estate, and that is where the supermarket is. So this is a fact-finding thing for us, but all the same, it doesn't give anybody the right to discriminate against us in our own country and prevent us from going into any supermarket in as much as it is Nigeria. Secondly, it doesn't give anybody the impetus to now go ahead and display his products in yuan, not in the Nigerian naira. Our currency is naira, and everything is sold here, every service, as you have seen CBN and indeed the Minister of Finance fighting, even school fees in some instances must henceforth be in naira. And we are going to insist that supermarket must display in naira and sell in naira, not yuan. They sell in yuan, they display in yuan, sell in yuan, and even use yuan as a currency, which is not in our rules. It's against the law, constitutionally. So this is something that we even discussed with the Chinese ambassador himself. He came to follow up on the issue, and we discussed with him, and he said discrimination is a no-no, even in China. So if it's no in China, why are we practicing it here?
Nigeria.
So we asked him to go and warn his people that we are on this now, and we expect 100% compliance, and they must do what they are supposed to do. We are monitoring, we are investigating, and of course we keep the public posted on what the developments are.
So how about the patronage of Nigerians in that supermarket, at the Chinese supermarket? Now, as we speak, are Nigerians allowed to buy things?
Sure. In fact, that's exactly what I told that we discovered. The discrimination is not against Nigerians going to the supermarket per se. It's against people coming into the estate without any business there. But if you are a Nigerian and you live in the estate, or you have a visitor that comes into the estate and there are things to buy in the supermarket, nobody stops you from going in there.
All right. Yes. And then the massacre market. What you did in the massacre market, and you're taking it across other states of the federation in terms of enlightenment campaign as our
advocacy.
Are we expecting any fall or a decrease in the general prices of goods and services at the end of it all?
Yeah, that's the news I started giving you earlier, that I have been expecting the price index from the NBS for this week, and I believe that part of the things that we expect would happen is that they will reflect some changes, downward trend in the price of goods. This is a thing that will not happen overnight, because as I told you earlier, we expect even better things in the near future. But the CNGs have not come into effect yet, as you have noted, as you know. Neither have all the roads been reconstructed, neither have all the vehicles been changed or new ones bought. Neither have the cost of spare parts come down so that you can repair your vehicles. Neither have breakdowns stopped occurring, so losses in terms of perishable items or commodities have not stopped. But all these are things that are on the way. As we go further and improve on a daily basis on these variables that have added to the cost, we will continue seeing a downward trend.
All right. Reports also had it that in your quest to protecting the rights of the consumers, the Fccpc wrote to the plight of consumers by querying the aviation industry, which you mentioned briefly, and the case at the DSTV in the increase of subscription. How far have you gone in this?
Okay, NCA is a walkover for me. That's my root. That's where I came from. I was the immediate past director of consumer protection of NCA, and I was there for 10 years. I established it as a department, as a directorate really. Okay. And even the laws were made under my watch. The establishment of the whole thing, the distribution of the staff, the employment of the staff. So NCA is home for me. The prices of international flight tickets is a combined effort that Fccpc and NCA came together, invited all the airlines and informed them that, look, one of the reasons, or the major reason he gave for the price of the increase of the price of tickets, is the fact that your funds are blocked in the country. Since this government came in accordance with Mr. President's agenda, most of your currency has been, your monies have been flowed back to your country. So if government has done what it's supposed to do, and you have been able to repatriate your funds back to your countries, so how come the lower inventories are still blocked? What happens in the cost of tickets is this: fares and tariffs are decided this way. You see, even in economy class, the person sitting next to you may have paid double of what you have paid, depending on the time which the ticket was bought. So there are what we call lower inventories. These lower inventories is a ticket to London from Abuja may cost 1.2 million naira. There will be a lower inventory of 500,000. That the person who buys that ticket for December now may buy it on at 500,000. So that lower inventory now closes with time. So the person that buys his ticket next, maybe around July or August, may pay 700, 750. On and on and on. So the last person to buy his ticket who buys on at 1,200, or 1.2 million rather. So they closed all the lower inventories. What they did was that if you wanted to get to the UK, you have to pay 1.2 million flat rate. It's not as if you buy earlier it will be cheaper. It may be cheaper, but it will be at that rate that the person who was supposed to buy, who is buying late, was supposed to pay. That's what you buy when you are buying early. So we force them to now open those inventories by telling the government is doing what it's supposed to do. I'm happy to announce only yesterday IATA, that's the International Air Transport Association, that's the umbrella body of all airlines in the world, came out to say that Nigeria has paid over 90-95% of all the trapped funds. Yes. So what they're talking about now is something in the region of $19 million. That's all that Nigeria has not really opened. And this is a continuous thing. It's like the more you sell tickets, of course, the more you want to repatriate your funds, because that repatriation has to be done in dollars, because of the fact that aviation is a dollar rated thing. You buy your spare parts in dollars, you rent the aircraft if they are on wait lease, dry lease in dollars, fueling. Even in Nigeria, if an international airline wants to buy fuel, it buys in dollars, not in naira. And cost of your pilots and your crew, everything is in dollars. So this repatriation of funds is very important to them, because they run the airline from their head offices. And that is what we have done in aviation. We sat together, we brought in our knowledge of what aviation and fares and tariffs are in aviation, and spoke to the airlines individually and collectively, and made them open these lower inventories so that ticket prices have really come down. On the issue of complaints now, we have seen how the current minister, Festus Keyamo, has taken aviation to higher levels. When an airline, we don't mention names, got some passengers, Nigerian passengers stranded in Togo, the minister himself that's coming out now to shout about it and to read the Riot Act. As you can see, he is the one that gives directives on consumer protection in aviation himself. If the minister himself takes it seriously, then I know that NCA has no choice but to also take it seriously. And the current manager of NCA is doing what he's supposed to do. DSTV, we don't fix prices, so we cannot tell them at what price to charge. But they wrote us a 4-page letter even before, or as they were increasing their prices, and gave us the reasons why they are increasing. So what we did is now invite them, come and defend all these reasons that you have brought forward as the reason that you are increasing. Yes, price of electricity has gone up, price of diesel has gone up, they run on generators, and some other issues that they raised. So all we are trying to do is to make sure that that rate hike is justified.
Right.
Once justified, then we'll get a better deal for Nigerians. Right. So why don't you allow us to do pay-per-view, for instance? Yes, we would pay the higher rate, but give us better deal. Right. So this is that's the essence of that meeting that we're holding with them.
Time will not allow us. There are many questions to ask, but because of our time, we can't continue. We are
consumer protection is always a very, very interesting topic. It goes on and on and on. Yes.
Yes. And with all of this reassurance, we have come to the end of today's edition of the program. The guest has been the Executive Vice Chairman of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC.
Any last word? Any last word?
Yes.
Because we have to encourage consumers to complain through our Twitter handle, through our Facebook, through our Instagram at FCPC Nigeria. Our hotline is 005-600-2020. That's 0805-600-2020. And website contact@fccpc.gov.ng. Please feel free, lodge your complaint, and would give you all assurance that we'll do what we're supposed to do. Thank you.
Please feel free to lodge your complaint, and the FCCPC will take it to the next level. Dr. Adamu Ahmed Abdullahi holds, among others, a doctorate degree in business administration, a master's degree in transport, logistics and aviation management, and a degree of fine arts and communication. Of course, he's my senior colleague in the media. We want to thank you, Doctor, for finding time
my pleasure always.
to
My
honor
pleasure
our
always.
invitation on this edition.
It's nice coming home, always.
Thank you, sir. And to you out there, our esteemed audience, thanks for spending part of your time with us on this interesting edition of the program. I'm sure you learned something and now know you're right. I believe that your right is your right. From the FCCPC, I am Ile Emeche.